Papers scattered across the marble floor like autumn leaves, each one a piece of the presentation that Charlotte Williams had spent 3 weeks perfecting. She watched in horror as her carefully organized quarterly reports spread across the pristine lobby of Reynolds Financial Tower, victims of a broken briefcase clasp and her own hurried pace. "Oh no, no, no," Charlotte whispered, dropping to her knees in her black pencil skirt, frantically trying to gather the documents before anyone noticed the chaos she had created. At 27, she had worked too hard to build her reputation as a meticulous senior analyst to let a wardrobe malfunction destroy her credibility. "Here, let me help you with those." Charlotte looked up to see a young man kneeling beside her, already collecting a stack of her scattered papers with careful attention. He appeared to be around 30, with kind brown eyes and an easy smile that immediately put her at ease. His white dress shirt was crisp but not overly formal, and he carried a worn leather messenger bag that gave him the look of someone who was dedicated but not yet established in the corporate hierarchy. "Thank you so much," Charlotte said gratefully, noticing how he was organizing the papers by type rather than just grabbing them randomly. "I cannot believe my briefcase picked today of all days to fall apart. These documents are for a presentation to the board in 20 minutes. "Board presentation," the man said with what sounded like genuine sympathy as he handed her a neat stack of financial charts. "Those can be nerve-wracking. What department are you presenting to?" "Executive leadership meeting," Charlotte replied, still gathering papers while trying to maintain some dignity in her professional skirt and heels. "I am Charlotte Williams, Senior Analyst in the Investment Division. I have been working on this market analysis for weeks." "Nice to meet you, Charlotte," he said, continuing to help organize her documents. "I am Michael Reynolds. And I have to say, from what I can see of these reports, your analysis looks incredibly thorough." Charlotte paused in her paper gathering to really look at the young man helping her. Michael Reynolds. She had heard that name recently in connection with some new hires in the company, though she could not quite place where. He seemed knowledgeable about financial documents, which suggested he might be one of the new analysts or research assistants. "Are you starting in our department?" Charlotte asked, assuming he must be the new intern everyone had been expecting. "I heard we were getting some fresh talent to help with the quarterly assessments." Michael's smile grew slightly wider, though Charlotte thought she detected something almost amused in his expression. "Something like that," he said. "I'm definitely here to help with the company's direction." "That is wonderful," Charlotte said, feeling relieved to have such a helpful colleague. "I have to say, for someone new to corporate finance, you seem to understand these documents quite well. Did you study business in school?" "I learned a few things along the way," Michael replied modestly, stacking the last of her papers with the same careful attention he had shown throughout their impromptu rescue mission. Charlotte stood up, smoothing her skirt and checking that her blonde hair was still properly secured in its professional bun. Michael rose as well, handing her the organized stack of documents with a slight bow that seemed both respectful and slightly playful. "I cannot thank you enough," Charlotte said earnestly. "You may have just saved my career. Is there anything I can do to repay you?" "Just nail that presentation," Michael said with encouragement that seemed genuine. "Though from what I saw of your work, I think the board is going to be very impressed." "I hope so," Charlotte replied, checking her watch and realizing she had just enough time to reach the executive conference room. "Maybe I can buy you lunch later this week? Show you around the building, introduce you to some of the team." "I would like that," Michael said, his smile warm and sincere. "Good luck with your presentation, Charlotte." As Charlotte hurried toward the elevators, she found herself thinking about the helpful young man who had appeared just when she needed assistance most. It was refreshing to meet someone new to the company who seemed both competent and genuinely kind. She made a mental note to ask her supervisor about Michael Reynolds and which department he would be joining. The presentation went better than Charlotte had dared to hope. Her market analysis was well received, her recommendations were approved, and several board members complimented her thoroughness and insight. As she packed up her materials afterward, Charlotte felt a sense of professional satisfaction that made the morning's paper disaster seem like a distant memory. Walking back to her office, Charlotte decided to stop by Human Resources to learn more about the new intern who had helped her. She wanted to make sure Michael Reynolds received the warm welcome that his kindness deserved. Michael Reynolds, the HR representative repeated when Charlotte inquired. "I am sorry, but I do not show any new hires by that name in any of our departments. Are you sure you have the name right?" Charlotte felt confused. "He said he was here to help with the company's direction. I assumed he was one of the new analysts we were expecting." "Let me check our visitor logs and temporary contractor lists," the representative offered, typing on her computer. After a few moments, she looked up with a puzzled expression. "I am not finding anyone by that name in our systems at all." Feeling more confused than concerned, Charlotte returned to her office and tried to focus on her afternoon tasks. Perhaps Michael was a consultant or someone from another company who was visiting for meetings. It would explain his knowledge of financial documents and his interest in helping with company direction. The next morning brought Charlotte's usual routine, except for an unusual amount of activity in the executive offices. As she arrived at her desk with her coffee, her supervisor approached with an expression of barely contained excitement. "Charlotte, I need you to gather your market analysis materials and join me in the main conference room," her supervisor said. "We have been invited to meet with the new CEO who is officially starting today." "New CEO?" Charlotte asked, surprised. "I thought that announcement was not happening until next month." "Change of plans," her supervisor replied. "Apparently he has been working behind the scenes for the past few weeks, getting familiar with operations before making his appointment public. Very hands-on approach, from what I understand." Charlotte gathered her files and followed her supervisor down the hall toward the executive conference room. As they approached, she could hear voices inside discussing quarterly projections and market trends. The conversation sounded intelligent and detailed, suggesting the new CEO was someone who truly understood the financial industry. "After you," her supervisor said, opening the door and gesturing for Charlotte to enter first. Charlotte stepped into the conference room and immediately froze. Sitting at the head of the polished mahogany table, wearing an impeccably tailored charcoal suit and looking perfectly at ease in the executive setting, was Michael Reynolds. Their eyes met across the room, and Charlotte saw the same warm smile she remembered from the lobby, now accompanied by a slightly apologetic expression that suggested he had been waiting for this moment. "Good morning, everyone," Michael said, standing to greet the newcomers. "I am Michael Reynolds, and I am pleased to officially introduce myself as the new Chief Executive Officer of Reynolds Financial." Charlotte felt her world tilt slightly as the pieces fell into place. The knowledge of financial documents, the familiarity with company operations, the name she had heard but could not quite place, and most importantly, the genuine interest in helping with the company's direction. "Charlotte," Michael said, addressing her directly with the same kind tone she remembered from their first meeting. "I believe we met yesterday in the lobby. I want to thank you again for letting me help with your presentation materials." Charlotte's supervisor looked between them with surprise. "You two have already met." "Charlotte was kind enough to let me assist her when she had a small mishap with her briefcase," Michael explained, his eyes never leaving Charlotte's face. "It gave me an excellent opportunity to see the quality of work our analytical team produces. Her market research was truly impressive." As the meeting progressed, Charlotte found herself amazed by Michael's depth of knowledge and genuine interest in hearing from employees at all levels. He asked thoughtful questions about her analysis, sought input from junior staff members, and demonstrated a leadership style that was both authoritative and collaborative. During a break in the meeting, Michael approached Charlotte privately. "I owe you an apology," he said quietly. "I probably should have corrected your assumption about my role in the company." You said you were here to help with the company's direction, Charlotte replied, still processing the revelation. That was not exactly a lie. True, Michael admitted with a slight smile. But I also enjoyed having someone treat me like a regular person instead of a title. Your kindness yesterday had nothing to do with my position or authority. That meant more to me than you might realize. Charlotte studied his face, seeing the same genuine warmth she had noticed when he helped her collect her scattered papers. So when I offered to show you around the building and introduce you to the team, I was genuinely looking forward to it, Michael said. Though I suspect the dynamics might be a bit different now. Maybe, Charlotte said thoughtfully. But you are still the person who stopped to help a stranger pick up papers off the floor. That tells me more about who you are than any title could. As the meeting resumed, Charlotte reflected on the unexpected turn her life had taken through a simple moment of clumsiness and kindness. She had been helped by someone she thought was a new intern, only to discover he was the CEO who would now shape the direction of her career. Later that week, when Michael invited Charlotte to lunch to discuss her insights about the company culture and market position, she realized that their connection had been built on mutual respect and genuine interest in each other's ideas. The revelation of his true role had not changed the fundamental kindness she had seen in him. You know, Michael said as they shared coffee after their meal, I meant what I said about being impressed by your work. I would like you to consider joining my strategic planning team. We need people who combine analytical skill with genuine care for the company's success. Charlotte smiled, thinking about how a broken briefcase had led to an opportunity she never could have imagined. I think I would like that very much. As they walked back to the office together, Charlotte realized that sometimes the most important connections we make happen when we are not trying to impress anyone, when we are simply being human with each other in moments of unexpected vulnerability.